Welcome back, fellas. The Fallacious Truth is back again with yet another video. And this time it's a doozy as it actually necessitates the need for another category being made. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out exactly what for. Now, for our viewing pleasure, we have an individual here known as Bronte Remisk, who I am already blocked from after making the small innocent comment of, I wonder if you put facts, reason, and logic into this instead of emotion, if you would have a different outcome. Now let's take a look at this video and break it down piece by piece.
My video yesterday responding to this man about male privilege had some of y'all fired up, and so many women commented so many better examples than the ones that I even used originally, so it's time for a part 2. Did you know that women are 47% more likely to be seriously injured in a car accident because the crash test dummies used in safety testing are male crash test dummies designed to be the average male proportions, and female crash test dummies weren't even utilized until 2015. They're not government mandated, so not every brand uses them, and when they do use them, they're mostly tested in the passenger seat because the misogyny continues.
I apologize at the beginning of this, but there's going to be a fair amount of starting and stopping so we can actually cover each and every one of these topics. So, can women be at a greater risk of injury than men in a car accident? Well, according to dozens of studies out there, yes they are. But that's where the uniformity stops. I've seen studies as low as 25% and studies as high as 79%. As far as more potential for injury goes. And the majority of these studies do have to do with car safety standards, and the ideal that only male crash dummies are used when determining the safety of said vehicle. Now, she either didn't read these studies in their entirety, or simply didn't take into consideration a whole host of other things. I'm gonna step out on a limb here and make the assumption that it's a little of both. So we're just gonna touch on a few of them now. Most of these studies are actually from 11 to 12 years ago. And this greatly brings into question their modern validity. While it may not be written into law, modern car companies would be foolish not to use both representative male and female crash dummies. And in fact, both are used now. If you actually read the article in its entirety, instead of picking and choosing what you want out of the article to try to make a video about it, the article actually goes on to say that these are not applicable in modern cars today. These standards simply don't apply, as both genders have to and are now taken into consideration. Now, if you actually read on in these studies, they clearly state that a huge factor of why women are more prone to injuries is simply because of their smaller stature. It's a biological difference. Last time I checked, that has nothing to do with a male patriarchy. Alright, now let's take this a step further by going over what these articles don't mention. They don't mention that there are inherent differences between men and women. And ultimately, this is going to create a paradox with modern thinking. Because remember everyone, men are equal to women. Oh wait, no, this is going to create a double paradox, if there ever was such a thing. A paradox is paradox. If men and women are equal, there's no need to care about different test dummies because, well, like I just said, according to modern thinking, men and women are equal. Never mind the fact that male bone density is greater than that of women. Also, I guess it means that muscle mass plays no part in this. You know, instead of deferring to science and why things are the way they are, you simply scream misogyny for everything that you don't agree with. And it couldn't be more clear that you have no idea what that word means.
And did you know that women are 1.7 times more likely to suffer adverse side effects of medications because the clinical trials used to determine the proper dosage were male-dominated trials? Because let's completely ignore the fact that men and women process drugs differently and have different metabolisms. So, yeah, super great.
Alright, now she continues this diatribe and she goes on to say that women are more likely to suffer an adverse reaction to men on medication. And the simple answer is yes, that is true. And of course, she now blames it on misogyny. That men hate women and therefore it's a plot to over-medicate women. Oh no, wait a minute. Is this yet another difference between men and women? Are you insinuating that we aren't the same again? Here's yet another example of a paradox's paradox. Are you saying that new studies should be performed because men and women are different? If you actually read into why these studies are the way they are, you will find that because of the constantly changing female hormones, the accuracy of the studies involving women simply couldn't be had. So they primarily used males as a baseline for these studies. That, however, did start to change in the 1990s when the medical technology became available to accurately take into account the differences, not the similarities, the differences between men and women. Contrary to modern progressive beliefs, there are differences between men and women. There go those pesky biological facts again.
Have you ever heard of the pink tax? It's not actually a tax, but it's a statistically higher cost for female marketed products that are identical to male products. For example, female clothes that are identical to male clothes on average are 10% more expensive, and little girls' toys compared to little boys' toys tend to be 5 to 13% more expensive. And this inflation of cost, on average, is estimated to cost women $1,300 a year for identical products just because they're marketed to women.
Oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
Alright, now we are on to the fallacious ideal of the pink tax. For those of you who are unaccustomed to nonsense, this unofficial pink tax supposedly exists on all female products simply because they are female. For those of you who actually care to dive deeper into this, specifically those of you who have owned businesses before, know that there is a massive difference between purchasing trends of men and women. Women are far more consumer-based than men are. And because of this, women tend to act off of emotion rather than logic with their buying trends. Thus, marketing is entirely different. This is also evident in the consumer packaging between men's products and women's products. While we are all visual, women on the marketing end of things are far more visual than men. Items are therefore largely purchased by how it makes them feel, rather than its utilitarian purpose. You then have price differences, bringing these products to market, all designed on making a woman feel like she needs that product. Not only are the graphics that are used for visuals more expensive, but it also takes more in advertising money to bring these products to market. More money ends up being spent advertising to a female audience rather than a male audience. All marketing is catered towards its consumers, but in the vast majority of societies, women are the larger consumers. Thus, gender-based items can be more expensive. The goal of the company is to make you purchase something, period. If they could get away with doing it for a lesser price and still make the same amount of profit, they would, as it would increase the quantity purchased, thus increasing the total overall profit. I'm sorry, but the laws of supply and demand don't dictate that, and the cost of bringing a product to market directly correlates with its cost. If you want costs to go down, simply stop spending as much and stop buying crap that you don't need.
And now let's talk about how men are praised for doing the bare minimum, like babysitting their kids or helping with chores, as if they're not their kids and their chores that just need to be taken care of.
The reason why men can be acknowledged for things that should be considered as normal is an entirely different conversation for another time, as it would take far too long here. But this line of thinking can be directly traced to the modern feminist movement. And incidentally, it's also why women are acknowledged for, say, working on their own cars, cutting their own lawns, taking out the trash, fixing an appliance, or doing anything technical. But again here, to pay tribute to any of this, you have to acknowledge the paradox's paradox again. You are going to have to acknowledge that men are different than women, that we aren't the same, that we were never designed to be the same. Remember, to quote this chick in the clip, these are things that just need to be taken care of. So stop your bitching.
And when men reach high-powered positions, are you ever accused of sleeping your way there because you couldn't have possibly gotten there on skill, merit, or qualifications? Of course not.
And no, you're actually right here. We generally aren't accused of sleeping our way to the top. But guess what? Stereotypes do exist for a reason. Just ask the current Vice President of the United States.
Or the fact that girls mature faster than boys, but when we're younger, girls are just told, oh, you just have to be patient. They mature slower than you. Instead of telling little boys, oh, women actually mature quicker than you, so you should be looking up to them as role models and leaders and see how they handle situations. No, you're never told that.
With regards to women maturing faster than men, you need to qualify this with actual biological fact and what matures faster or slower about the different genders. You need to do actual research into this and not put forth whatever fits your own narrative. While girls do indeed mature faster than boys, men are actually more mature than women. And this is backed by endless studies. Women's brains are wired for social interactions and social constructs, but this isn't indicative to their maturity level. Studies show that, contrary to popular belief, men are more emotionally mature than women. But because society tells us that we must repress our emotions to remain strong for our family, to keep said family together, the level of maturity is greater. Men naturally take leadership roles, we take the protective roles and the provider roles, not only due to the differences in genders, but also in the differences due to the level of maturity. Studies in the UK actually prove this. The collective takeaway from these studies were, women act out of emotion, while men as a whole act with a plan in mind. And as a side note, men should never, ever be looking up to women as role models and leaders due to the extreme differences in the genders. Men need a solid male role model in their lives. The importance of the father can never be overestimated.
Or what about how when little boys like little girls, they're mean to them, and little girls are just told, oh, they're mean to you and they like you. And then we're confused why so many women love toxic men as if it's not something you're taught to do. Yeah, how about instead we teach little boys that's not how you treat women. If you like them, you're not mean to them. Show them respect and affection. It's almost like we can combat this, But these are just examples to show you how the world is designed to cater to men. So again, there's your male privilege.
Hold on a minute. Hold the phone here. Are you actually saying that women love toxic men because you're taught to like toxic men? Are you saying that women can't think for themselves, that they can't think independently? I'm sorry, but that's a you problem. That's not a man problem. Last time I checked, you have the ultimate choice here. And by the way, at the end of the day, you will always choose the toxic male until you've been run through by the entire town and finally want someone to bring stability into your life. And you actually say that you are the more mature gender? Really? You say you want men to treat women with love and affection, and I have no quarrels with this. But that's not how boys at that age are wired. And it certainly isn't how girls are wired by that age, or in their teens, or their 20s, or even until their 30s. It's not until you hit that invisible wall do you realize that, hey, the guys who were willing to treat me with love and affection in my 20s now want nothing to do with me because I've had my back blown out by everyone within a 50-mile radius. And to top that off, you still have the unmitigated gall to say that we are the immature ones, that we won't commit, etc., etc. Because we simply didn't want anything to do with you because you were the town garden tool. As promised at the beginning of the video, I stated that we had to create a new category. The crazy class simply won't cut it here. Yes, she's part crazy, but she's also part ignorant. So we're going to have to come up with a new ignorance scale as well. Level 1 ignorance is almost normal. Mild ignorance, you're kind of on the right track and you're willing to learn. Level 5 ignorance is willful ignorance. You know there are other options out there that might be better than your own. And it might make more sense than your own, but you simply choose to ignore it. Level 10 ignorance is you're completely mindless. You parrot what you're told to say simply because it sounds good and there's no chance of you actually educating yourself because, you know everything. Furthermore, there's also no hope for your offspring in the future. We're going to label this one as Crazy Class Level 3, but ignorance is going to be Level 6 here. This is complete and utter willful ignorance because the information and data is out there. You just have to be willing to look it up for yourself. Thank you for sticking through this video. There'll be plenty more in the future. And as always, if you wouldn't mind sharing, and subscribing, I'd appreciate it.